The draft order for the 2026 NBA draft is set, which means we're continuing our ongoing series of looking at what specific teams should be doing in this draft, which means we're moving on to the Utah Jazz, and we're going to break it all down for you next.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. Your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Tyler Metcalf. Welcome to Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. Joining me as always is Tyler Rucker, and we got a loaded one today. Yet again, we're continuing our team deep dive, and we're looking at the Utah Jazz and their potential options in the 2026 NBA Draft. We're going to look at explore some potential trade offers that they might be looking at. But we got to start out with what they're doing with their one and only pick in this draft, and it is a doozy of a pick at number 2. So, Rucker, I mean, Jazz were big winners here, holding on to that number 2 pick. I know Jazz fans were really desperate to get number 1 because of the connections and ties to AJ Debonsa, who is a heck of a basketball player. But this draft class continues to get pitched as a big 4, and having the number 2 pick when there's a draft with 4 potential superstars in it, not a bad place to be.
Not a bad place at all. I think you're doing a backflip right now if you're a Jazz fan. And yeah, it's a big 4 for all of us. I think we're all at the point where it's like, hey, all of these guys are really exciting. But I think if you're the Jazz, you're probably like, all right, whoever's not going 1, or we're probably just going to be sprinting to the podium regardless. So I can't wait to see like kind of how it goes down, Metcalf. I think they're in a great spot, obviously. Like, this is a really big opportunity for them to take the legit step to being a serious team again in the Western Conference. And so Jazz fans, it's all been coming down to this. Here we go.
Now, a lot of the conversations with the top overall pick have been mostly geared towards Darren Peterson versus AJ Debonsa, which would mean, and this is including our episode on Monday where we were talking through the Wizards options, and those are the 2 guys that we really focused on at 1, which would just by the transitive property mean, all right, you just take whichever one Washington doesn't at 2. But do you? Or is there more of a legitimate conversation between guys like Cam Boozer from Duke or Caleb Wilson from North Carolina? Because in a lot of draft classes, those guys would go number 1. But where this isn't like most draft classes. And Cam Boozer, for God's sake, his dad is on the scouting staff. But even ignoring that, he had one of the most statistically dominant college seasons we've ever seen. Any analytical model that you look at, he's probably at near, if not at the top of it. If you make one from scratch, he's probably going to be at the top of it. On top of that, he was one of the most decorated high school players ever. Caleb Wilson fits the archetype of what the Angels tend to swing on historically, of this really athletic athletic tool type of guy at the forward spot with insane amount of upside, who a lot of people are putting at 3 or 2 on their draft board. So do you think that this conversation is as easy as, hey, whoever doesn't go between AJ and Darren, that's the pick, and it's as easy as that? Or do you think there's a more nuanced conversation that should be had?
I think for all these top 4 picks, I think you got to bring as many guys in as you can to at least just check the boxes and not get any more surprises. And look, everyone's going to point to this front office as being the one that's like, well, hey, if they're in or they're out on a guy, they're not afraid to do it. With going back to, Danny Ainge's history and Austin Ainge when they were in Boston, with trading back from the number 1 pick to get Tatum and having the Fultz draft. I think, this is what teams have been doing all year, is scouting these guys. And now it's kind of this last process is confirming everything and trying not to get a surprise. Personally, I think it's whoever doesn't go 1, you're probably sprinting to the podium and being like, thank you, we're done. Have a great draft night, everybody else. So, but I think you got to be smart, do your homework, and at least see what everyone else is like. If it's Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson, great. Sometimes you go to those and I think players can surprise you, where you're like, whoa, hold on. Now we got a
Mhm.
conversation. Like, this is the best workout, and you're not going to move off a guy just because of a workout, but you might start thinking a little and you might start talking and being like, well, what if we do trade back to, et cetera? What about you, Metcalf?
I'm in the same boat, I think. But it's really, really tough because like I do think that we are continuing to sleep on how good Cam Boozer can and likely will be. When you talk to people in the league, like they light up when they talk about Caleb Wilson and what they think he's going to turn into. Like the excitement around that guy, I promise you, it is not just media hype or draft Twitter people clicking exclusively highlights, like freaking out about how good this guy is. People in the league are head over heels about this guy. And when you hear the leaks about it's like, oh, talk to an exec or a team scout or agent or whoever who has Caleb Wilson at one, like there are those people out there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not just a fabrication.
Didn't mean to cut you off. Right now, I'd be shocked if he goes 4. Like
Yeah.
I'm saying, I'd be shocked if he makes it to 4. So to echo what Metcalf's saying, it's a love fest. And it's not hard to find out why when you hear about Caleb Wilson and now, his intangibles, his character, and then the upside. Now, this isn't slander to Cameron Boozer because, man, I love Cameron Boozer. But like one of these guys could be just going 4th, and you're like, we're not going to be able to comprehend it on draft night.
Yeah.
You said it in the opener. Any other year, I think all 4 of these guys could be a number 1 pick. They're all in the same draft. So there is a lot of Caleb love. That's the one I'd keep an eye on. But we always say, like, when you're drafted this high, you're not usually drafting for fit. Like, I know we're going to talk about that probably later, but what a fun problem to have. Number 2 pick, you're just like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and we're going to break down some of that BPA versus fit nuance and troubles right after this. Missed calls and slow follow-ups are silent killers for businesses. That's how money gets left on the table without people even realizing it. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the business communication system built so you never miss a call. Quo helps businesses keep every conversation organized by letting your entire team manage calls and texts from one shared number. No more drop messages, missed opportunities, or disconnected communication. It's designed for how modern businesses actually operate. The part I love, everything lives in one clean thread: calls, texts, and voicemails, so the whole team can see the conversation. It just makes your business feel more organized and responsive. Money is on the line. Always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Postseason is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun. Because every player has their bag, with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure that you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2%. From tip off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. So, one of the tricky aspects about how Utah has built out this roster, and especially the trades they made at the deadline, bringing in a guy like Triple J, is the kind of fit versus BPA conundrum, especially since at their spot at 2, at least 2 of their 3 top options are going to be get like forwards. And AJ's a bigger wing who probably down the line could play some 4 if needed if they go small, but he's a massive human being as well. So when you look at the Jazz and how they've built out their roster and the top of this draft, how do you parse that BPA versus fit conundrum that they're inevitably going to face.
Yeah, I think it's a big question you got to at least consider. Now, I'm the biggest believer of like you're drafting best player available, especially in a stacked class. If you had, there's a chance that Utah has someone at 1, and calm down, Jazz fans, BYU fans. There's a chance that they might have someone different at 1, and they're like, we're going to get them, and so you're sprinting to the. But I also go like, hey, if you do your evaluation process, you feel the best about somebody else, and you're a logjam at that position, I would probably, if I'm picking that early, still be taking that player, or I would trade out. Now, I'm not trying to trade out of the draft, but I would try to be like, come up a little bit. Someone come up here, give us a little more. I think Utah's at a point. Don't get fancy with trying to trade out. Just take a dang player that you're like, oh my gosh, we struck gold. We got one. Let's get to work. But look, the roster is very front court heavy. Very heavy Metcalf. Now, my favorite,
like with awesome players. But my favorite thing right now is like, when you get, you say that to Utah fans, and I think the first reaction is, well, we play Laurie at the 3. It's like, okay, that's probably my favorite tradition right now. I know he can play the 3, but like I would want him as a 4 that really creates nightmares and jumbo size. But like, look, Filipowski, you just traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. Who knows what they're going to do with Walker Kessler? Laurie, the legend Kevin Love, just providing the vet depth. What else? I mean, Ace Bailey's a big wing.
Bailey's a big wing. Filipowski.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of beef.
Yeah.
So I understand anyone's going to be like, well, this is a question. How does Boozer work? How would Caleb Wilson work? If it's going to be, hey, we like those guys better than a Darren Peterson, I think the Jazz will then be like, okay, if we go this way, what's the next move? But it's just amazing to kind of look at the roster and be like, well, how does this work?
Yeah, and I know a lot of Jazz fans were kind of bummed because I'm sure, or by the looks of it, it seemed like they really had their hearts set on AJ DeBonsa because that's who, he's kind of been billed as this chosen one, given his connections to Utah Prep, BYU, all of that kind of stuff. But when I look at the top of this draft, for me personally, I still have Darren as my number 1 player in this draft, and I think he is the best fit of these 4. So I think this is, if Washington does go AJ at 1, I think this is an incredible stroke of luck for Utah. And now you're building out your backcourt with Keontae George, who took an insane leap this last year and really started pivoting more into like that actual point guard role. And now you're adding Darren Peterson, who's 6'5", awesome athlete, insane shot maker, off-ball scorer. We saw that all year at Kansas with some serious playmaking chops that we saw throughout his senior year in high school. Oh, and he's a really good defender. So in terms of plug and play, I do think AJ works, but I think Peterson is almost even more seamless of a plug and an insertion into that starting lineup. And I think either way, whichever one of those guys Utah ends up walking away from this draft with, I think they are a major factor in helping them potentially be a top 6 seed in the playoffs next year.
I have Darren. I would sprint to the podium.
Yeah.
Sprint. I would just be like, just take it. Take the card picks in. And it's not just because, look, I love Darren and AJ. I think if you got one of them, you're just ecstatic and you're like, we got one. We're pumped. And it's no slander to Cameron or Caleb. I still think like, man, if you get one of the big 4, if you get one of them, you're going to be very, very happy. But Darren is like the piece of the puzzle you dream of when it comes to like, oh, you've been suffering in the lottery purgatory for years, the rebuild. Like, can we just hit this is the one. This is the piece. And it's because his game fits so well with everyone they have around. So it's like it's gonna take everyone's game to another level. Might take a little bit for him to figure it out. You know what I'm just saying? I'm not putting unrealistic pressure on a rookie,
Right.
but I'm saying like Darren, if everything clicks, he fits beautifully with Keontae. I think if you take Keontae out, Darren fits really nice with Collier. I think all of a sudden Ace Bailey, I get 10 times more excited about Ace Bailey's upside because Darren's going to, and Keontae will create more scoring gravity to make things easier for Ace Bailey to build some confidence. And then we haven't even gotten to the front court we were just talking about. So
Right.
It's a really good fit. And with Will Hardy's system, like I just kind of feel like, you know, we left the lottery, and I feel like I was like, oh man. And I think you even said like Will Hardy with Darren. I was like, oh my goodness. Like you get really excited about how quickly this roster could be like, hey, this team could get nasty pretty fast. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. Metcalf, what about you?
I totally agree. But before we move on,
Yeah.
I do just want to make a pitch because for Cam and Caleb, because a lot of people have them at 1 or 2 on their board, and I don't think that's totally outlandish. I'm not there, but I get it. Any order of that top 4, I promise I get it. And I know at first glance it might feel really clunky in terms of fit and minutes and redundancy. I agree. But one of the issues with Triple J playing full-time 5 is the rebounding. And, you know, let's say they move off Walker Kessler because those rumblings have been going on for a lot longer than I would think. But let's say they move off of him and they still bring in Cam or Caleb. Both those guys are insane rebounders at their position for their size on both ends of the floor. I think they help insulate a lot of that. And now if you're running 4 guys out on the court and Triple J, Laurie, Caleb Wilson, and Ace Bailey, that is an insane amount of length and ground coverage and rebounding and off-ball scoring. And I think you're able to wreak a lot of havoc. Swap Cam for Caleb. The IQ and the ball movement and the rebounding on that team goes through the roof. So I know a lot of it kind of depends on what they do with Kessler. I would still go Darren or AJ at that number 2 pick. But I think there are some really creative ways that either Cam or Caleb could make a major impact on this team, especially since we've seen this massive boon in offensive rebounding and teams controlling the glass and generating extra possessions on that end of the floor through just crashing the offensive glass.
Let's have fun here. Let's say complete curveball, and you can't take Darren, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you take at 2 if you're Utah? Would it Caleb or Cam? I think
I'd go Cam.
I would go Cam, but it would not shock me if it was Caleb.
Yeah, it would be a much tougher discussion for me than either Darren or AJ.
Yeah, that would be a tough one. You know what it would be? He's gonna knock. He's gonna be a very like. I don't know if the public realizes how much teams love Caleb. It's hard. It's not hard to see why, but like that's been pretty loud all year, and then it got. It's really loud right now. It's megaphone yelling in an open field loud right now. Maybe louder than that. Kiss concert loud. Anyways, if they didn't do the Jaren Jackson trade, I feel like maybe the Caleb one would be louder because I'm just trying to be like, does that feel a little?
If they didn't
counter?
do the Jaren Jackson trade, I think that conversation for 2 in general would be a lot closer. I think.
Yeah, because now you're saying
But
if you drafted Darren, or AJ, I guess if you're drafting Darren or AJ at 2, you're probably like, it's time to roll.
Yeah,
even with rookies. You know, even with these guys as rookies, you're probably like, it's time to roll. Here we go. Like, look, no more picking in the top 10. No more worrying about the lottery. It's time. So I just laugh at Utah because I'm like, they wouldn't do that. Like, they're going to take Darren or AJ. So
they pulled off one of the most surprising trades at the deadline of last season that totally reshaped their team and expectations. And they could make another one. We'll run through a couple hypotheticals right after this.
You ever watch a game and think, I need to know what these fans are saying about this team right now? On Reddit, you're plugged into millions of fans who are just as hopeful, dramatic, analytical, and loyal as you are. The Reddit app is for authentic conversations about anything and everything. I love that there are different team subreddits for every single NBA team, so I know that if the Knicks are dominating the Hawks like in that game the other day, you can go right to the Hawks subreddit and say, how much are they breaking down and crashing out right now? I can go straight to the NBA one and see all kinds of great things. Reddit is where real fans hang out. Download the Reddit app and dive into your favorite team or the Mavericks subreddit for hot takes, fresh memes, and the group chat that literally never sleeps. Download the Reddit app today.
Okay, Rucker. So it seems like we're pretty agreed on who we would take at 2, but let's say the Jazz are like, man, I'm not dead set on picking at 2. So I'm going to run through a couple hypothetical trades that I want you to approach as if you're the Jazz. So I am the other team calling you, proposing these trades, so that, obviously if there's like a slight counter or whatever, but you're not like, oh, if I was that team, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
First one, Washington calls you. They're in love with Darren or AJ. They don't have a problem with either. This trade might sound a little familiar for people who listen to Monday's episode, but Washington is offering pick number 1 for Isaiah Collier, Ace Bailey, your 2029 first, and your 2031 first.
So I said no on Mondays. If I say yes here, am I technically just like I wasn't wrong?
No, because I also threw in an extra pick on this one.
Yeah, I feel like that one added a little. No.
Okay.
We like the roster. I don't make the pick. Is what I want to say. Make the pick. We're happy with whoever we get. Just make the pick. Why do I want to give up anything? I love both of them.
Fair. Okay. Chicago, new front office. They're looking to move up. They want one of AJ or Darren. So, but we know the Angels stick by their board. They're very confident in their evals, and maybe we saw them make a similar trade in the Tatum year. So maybe they have Caleb at 1, and they're confident he'll be there at 4. So Chicago is offering Trey Jones, number 4, number 15 in this draft, and their 2030 first for number 2.
No thanks.
Okay. Wow. Tough crowd.
No. I'm trading any team that needs to come up. If I was Utah, you're paying top dollar and more. Plus. Top dollar plus. You are overpaying for this spot. Like I'm going to treat it like it is the most expensive pick of all time. If I'm probably Utah, I'm saying I'm treating this like it's a number 1 pick. I think all the teams at 3 and 4, you should be treating it like that too. We just said this is a class where we might have 4 number 1 picks. So why don't you treat that like that's the price tag? You got to pay a lot to get up here.
Well, thank God you said that, because someone who does have a lot is the Oklahoma City Thunder, and going to play at those heartstrings yet again.
Walked right into it, didn't I?
Thomas Sorber, AJ Mitchell, 12, 17, 2028 swap with Dallas, 2029 first from Denver for number 2. You get a point guard to go along with Keontae George full-time. We've seen how well AJ Mitchell can play on or off ball in his time in OKC. Thomas Sorber gives you a little more depth at center in case you want to move off of Walker Kessler. The medicals are good. You like that. You still get 2 first-round picks in this year's class. Who knows how far along Dallas is going to be in 2028, 2029. Denver, I mean, they might blow it up by then. Who knows? All it's going to cost you is a measly number 2 pick. Number 1 guy's already off the board.
Do I have a bad contract on the roster off the top of your head? I would get me who's our guy we keep saying they're gonna just dump probably or we just said like what a robbery that contract was. OKC's guy. Wiggins.
Oh.
I would want like
Wiggins
take
too?
a bad contract and okay, we're not doing counters.
No, I mean, so
I'm not doing a counter.
Jazz
You
is
can't
bad.
do this to me
No.
every episode. We can't throw AJ Mitchell and Thomas Sorber in every episode.
No,
Trade.
I
I'm
just
gonna
want to
have a
highlight.
meltdown.
I want to highlight how absurd Utah's cap sheet is for next year. So going from top to a couple. So highest paid guy next year, Jaren Jackson at 49 million. Then Lauri Markkanen at 46. After that, just a slight drop off to Ace Bailey at 9.5. That's it. And like
so,
the Wizards is like the exact same, where it's like Anthony Davis 54, Trae Young 49, Alex Sarr 8. It's absurd.
well, look, if I'm probably gonna say like, hey, no, we're gonna take Darren. But if OKC has that type of firepower, and you're looking like, hey, we think we have a playoff roster. Now we could add AJ Mitchell. Now we could add Thomas Sorber, and all the picks, and I'm saying no because I want to be like, but we could talk. We could start the conversation because if you could get 3 or 4 guys with upside and a treasure chest of picks, I could start a conversation, but it's probably going to end with a no.
Okay, so I didn't run this one, but I was thinking instead of Sorber and AJ Mitchell, what if it was Jalen Williams? Now there would have to be an outgoing piece as well. I don't know what it would be, but if it's Jalen Williams, the same picks, and like maybe it's Ace Bailey going out. I didn't run the contracts, so apologies. I'm just going off the top of my head.
If it's an offer built around J-Dub, you're saying
right? Yes,
for 2.
For 2.
I mean, J-Dub for 2. Oh, man. Can you pick like 3 more guys I loved in the draft and just make fake trades around them? That's a tough one. A couple years ago, Case and Wallace, J-Dub. That's a tough one because a couple years ago, I'm probably like, that's a pretty easy yes. If J-Dub's healthy, I'm probably like, it's a tough one to say no. But Darren's ceiling is probably way higher. So I probably would say no. Look,
okay.
That one's really tough. That one would be tough because, like, I also think J-Dub was a little bit more like, the guy mentality situation could really be like even scarier. But this is what I keep coming back to. Like, he's number one. Darren's number 1 on my board. Yeah. If I can get him at 2, I'm ecstatic. I'm already playing with house money. And if Darren just had the nightmare year at Kansas and he's healthy next year, Metcalf, like, that could be an all NBA guy for a very long time in his career. So I don't know if there's any trade package that I'd be like, I'm going to give up on that. A 19-year-old potential all NBA MVP candidate in his prime. It's tough because it's a gamble, but you're doing, it's almost like a calculated, I don't know how to explain it. You're Mr. Finance. You know what I'm trying to say though? Like, the return is way higher if you go and invest with Darren.
Yeah, it's the opportunity cost, and there's inherent risk in it. But would you take any of those trades? Probably not.
Didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, just that's how valuable the top picks in this class are. That's why we saw tanking be as bad as it was all year, because of this draft. And honestly, thank God you didn't take that Thunder trade, because it was going to be Jay Will on the offer sheet that you signed. So I would have tried to slide one past you. But we're going to leave it there.
That's a good underrated joke. Go ahead.
We're going to leave it there. He is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. I'm Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at Team Metcalf11. Thank you for listening to Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings and making us your first listen every day.